Welcome to Week 1 Lecture Prezi for Creative Writing. I guess the first question we need to ask is, what do creative writers do? Writing is a process, a way of working with your intellect and feelings to make something people can learn from and enjoy. So what exactly do creative writers do? Individual work. They focus their time on composing and shaping their ideas. They work in groups, interacting with other writers and their work. They focus. They learn to pay closer attention to the world and human experience. And they practice. Practice rendering with words those experiences in order to bring them to life in the reader's mind. And they use writing in words to expand and extend who they are and what they want to know. So finding a creative voice can be somewhat difficult, and a lot of creative people do struggle with it. And so we're going to look at a little video by Ira Glass talking about his creative process and finding his creative voice.
Keith Moon, the drummer of The Who, has this quote that I really love where he said, "I am the greatest Keith Moon-style drummer in the world." And I really love that. I relate to it. Like, I feel like I kind of invented a way for myself to be on the radio. I think it's a good target to invent the thing that's going to be exactly right for you. There came a point in my 20s where I was just like, I want to do stories about everyday people who aren't in the news, just document everyday normal life. To be really honest, I didn't know anything about journalism. I didn't want to talk to famous people. That seemed terrifying. I had no interest in them. I didn't even know what it would be to be a reporter. I understood what it would be to talk to regular people. And it was really a puzzle to figure out, like, how do you do that in a way that it would be compelling and exciting to listen to. Coming up and you're trying to invent the person you're trying to be. You're trying to turn yourself into this person who you want to be. It's debilitating and you feel terrible so much at the time. And you really have to be a soldier. You really just have to, like, get in there and fight and just make stuff. Just force yourself to make stuff. It's really hard to do. Often when I give speeches, I play stuff. Lately, I've been going around playing a thing that's from my 8th year. And as I put it to the audience, like, in 8 years, you can become a surgeon. You know what I mean? Like, in 8 years, you can learn another language and be fluent in it. Like, you can learn anything in 8 years, and I'm still, like, awful. It just took me so long. And I really wish somebody had told me that that's normal. I started This American Life in 1995, but I really viewed it as kind of like an indie film kind of thing. Like some people like this. It's not going to be for everybody. And really, our business plan is that we can get on 60 radio stations in 2 years. That would be incredible. In our first year, we signed up 100 stations. Half of them were signing up to get the pledge material. They'd say, "Can we get the pledge material?" Like, you have to take the show, and they'd put us on weird times. Like, it was fine with me. Like, I don't need them to take it because they like it. Like, I don't need them to take it because we were making something new. I don't need them to see it the way I see it. I just need to get on the air. And I feel like the more idealistic and idiosyncratic your project is, I think the more cunning you have to be about the business side of it. And you really have to think about who are you selling to and what do you have to say and what do you have to do to give them something that they'll want. And I see no shame in that. Like, I think that one of the most common things in the world is people who do really beautiful work and it doesn't find an audience. It took us 4 years to get to 1 million listeners per episode, whereas it took Serial, our first podcast, 4 weeks, and it took S-Town, our second podcast, 4 days. It's normal for it to be hard. Like, it's hard for me. And I've been making these stories for years and years and years. I think a lot of us, when we start, we have a kind of a dutiful idea of, like, what's important for us to do that can push us off of the thing that's going to be good and actually truly original and valuable. Be in it for your own pleasure. Notice what you're interested in. Follow that. Be out for your own fun. Be out for your own curiosity. Like, that's the only way anything's going to be good.
I think Ira made a really good point that we all have stories to tell, and you will have the opportunity to tell those stories in this class. But I want you to be aware, like I said, this is going to be a daunting task. You're not going to be a publishable writer by the end of this class, but you most definitely will improve your writing skills and hopefully your thinking skills and find your creative voice. All right. So another part of what creative writers do is they ask questions. Questions like, what is interesting about human nature? In your life, what have you observed about humans? What's worthy to write about? Another question is, what is it like to be a particular human with a particular set of problems? When you think about it, we all have problems and things that we face every day, and sometimes those stories are the best ones to tell because they are relatable to other people, and therefore you are bringing in an audience. Another question creative writers ask is, what does it feel like, as well as look like, to attempt to be good, do the right thing, make a mistake, or fail utterly, given a set of circumstances? Again, this is where a lot of creative writers get their insights in observing human nature and seeing what happens in the real world, as well as basing a lot of their writing on their own experiences as well. Creative writing increases our ability to ask the questions that are important to us, hard, interesting questions, and come up with answers that both please us and inform others in an original way. Okay, according to the text that we are using to base our lectures on, they talk a little bit about the 4 parts of creative writing. There are 4 different things you do with the time you devote to creative writing. Writing is the central part, but creative writers also need to know how to read, work with other writers and take their work to the next level by sharing it. So, writing for yourself and others. Working writers often keep track of their thought process and growth in a journal. You will also do that in your creative writer's notebook. The pieces you write in this course are designed not to express your actual experience, but to create an experience in the reader. You will also be doing a lot of reading. We will learn to read closely to see how effects are created, what the choices are, and what can be done with words. We will read stories, poems, drama, and creative nonfiction by published writers in order to guide you and provide insight into the craft of creative writing. We will work with other writers. Most published writers have a writing community where authors support other authors by reading their work and talking about it, as well as reviewing pieces. You, students in this course, will become a writing community. You will work with others, which will lead you to the next level, which is sharing, testing your work out on an audience. Most creative writers focus on practice, writing for oneself and others, working with other writers, and reading 90% of their time. But then it is time to show what they know, and they know how to write. I've always loved this quote by Stephen King, and I think it's imperative that you understand the importance of reading the supplements I give you in this class. If you don't have time to read, you don't have the time or the tools to write. Simple as that. We can learn a lot from other writers, so take advantage of the reading supplements in this course. And finally, I want to talk about the 6 tools of writing. Images, energy, tension, pattern, insight, and revision. Images are the living pictures, the movie in the reader's mind that your writing creates on the mental screen of the reader. Images are real. When you dream, you see things. The same with reading. When you are reading a great piece of writing, your imagination is activated. You can see and smell and hear and touch. Energy is the spark that makes a reader pay attention. Hemingway's taut, terse sentences emit a lot of energy. John Grisham's plot are packed with movement. James Joyce's inventive prose style is infused with life. Screenplays and graphic novels crackle with crisp characters and tight plot points. Good creative writers pay attention to words that are energetic, compound abstractions like ponderous sensation or evocative impediment, absorb rather than reflect energy, sentences and lines that are energetic, and paragraphs and stanzas that are strung together so the reader feels momentum, pleasing leaps, interesting gaps, and pauses. Energy is rhythm, excitement, and interest. Tension is the underlying push-pull conflict, juxtaposition, or what will happen next in all good creative writing. The reader has to have something to wonder about, though you should remember that while mystery is good, confusion isn't. To create tension, you push energy in two different directions. Readers want to figure things out, to feel smart, but they also want to be intrigued. They don't want you as the writer to show off, over-explain, perform, or have more fun than they are having. Pattern attracts the human eye, and repetition pleases us. From babyhood, you liked games that repeated: patty cake, peekaboo, jump rope. Creative writing is a sensory art form, and pattern is part of how creative writing makes its meanings. Pattern is a terrific way to subtly layer in your insights. Through repetition of images, words, or sounds, readers will pay attention to whatever you want them to notice, and they will feel like they are figuring it out. Insight. We read to be entertained, but also to learn, to see the world from the perspective of others. One of the reasons we read is to learn, and one of the reasons we read creative writing is to learn in a pleasurable way. We don't want our creative writing to lecture us or sermonize, but we want our art forms to indicate wisdom, to outline insights so that we can come to our own conclusions. We want our writing to explain, through that transporting experience, what is messy, beautiful, and difficult in the human experience. Good creative writing asks questions and provides insight through careful attention to human experience, wisdom in its specific moments, actions, and objects. Readers reject big conclusions laid on top of a piece of writing. Revision. When we look at the word revision, we quickly see the word vision. Rewriting creative work is not a laborious, horrible process. It's actually simply going back to the first strategy, images, and really looking more closely at what's being created for the reader in our mind's eye. Revision involves drawing, physically drawing or redrawing your scene or poem or essay. After you learn how simple and clear re-seeing truly is, revision is no longer a chore. It is the heartbeat of the writing process. Thank you. Hopefully this will prepare you for your first assignment.